Choose now, the native doctor's voice echoed in the shrine. Mr. Alex's heart pounded as the old man laid out the choices. Your child, your wife, or yourself. Choose one. In a big city called Kesko, there lived a man named Mr. Alex. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him because his family was very poor. He have 2 sons and a daughter. All his kids are adult, grown up. They live happily together in one room. Every morning Mr. Alex will get up early so as to fry a kara and sell so as to make some money for him and his family. One morning he met his childhood friend who came from a poor background but driving a big car now. He looks wealthy. Mr. Alex asked him, "How did you become so wealthy? Can you please help me because I'm suffering with my family?" He smiled and said, "Come closer," talking in a low voice like whispering. He said, "It was money ritual I did." Mr. Alex was shocked and said, "I can't do such," but before he left, his friend told him the address of the native doctor in case he decided to do the money ritual. When he got home he kept on thinking about it and considering that if he do the ritual, he won't watch his wife and kids suffer anymore. He loved and cherished his wife and kids so much. They are his world. He was tired of watching his wife and children suffer, so he decided to do it. One day, he traveled to a faraway land and met the native doctor. "I want to be rich," he said, desperation in his voice. "I'm tired of poverty." The native doctor looked at him closely. "Are you sure? Are you ready to do what it takes? Can you make the necessary sacrifice to gain wealth?" "Yes, I'm ready," Mr. Alex replied without hesitation. The native doctor gave him 3 options. 1. Use one of your children. 2. Use your wife. 3. Use yourself, but you'll be mad once a week for 10 minutes. Without thinking twice, Mr. Alex chose the 3rd option. "I will use myself. I can't harm my wife or children." The native doctor asked, "Are you certain?" "Yes," Mr. Alex said firmly. "Go ahead." The native doctor began chanting, his voice rising and falling like waves. After several minutes, he stopped and said, "It is done. When you wake up tomorrow, you will have what you asked for." The next morning, Mr. Alex's life changed. He went from selling a kara by the roadside to owning 3 petrol stations, luxury cars, and houses across the city. His rise was sudden, and people whispered about it, but no one dared to ask questions. His wife and his kids all endowed in wealth, leaving a flamboyant lifestyle, spending money lavishly, leaving their dreamed life, happy like not before. I guess they enjoyed the wealth more than Mr. Alex because they are talk of the town. Their lives are just like celebrities. They became proud and prideful. They now live like they are God on earth. Mr. Alex became a generous man, sponsoring community events and paying for children's education. Many thought he was simply blessed. He was just living a simple life while his wife and kids lived the big life. But then, the money ritual shadow began to show. The first time it happened was at a wedding. Mr. Alex stood up to give a speech in his agbada, looking every bit the proud and successful man. Then suddenly, he froze. His eyes went wild, his mouth twisted, and he began barking like a dog. People screamed. Some laughed. Others just stared. It lasted 10 minutes but felt like hours. When it was over, he acted as though nothing had happened. His wife, Auntie Precious, was furious. "Madman," she shouted in front of everyone. "You've disgraced me again." At first, people thought it was a one-time incident, but it wasn't. At a business meeting, he stripped off his shirt. At his son's school graduation, he crawled on the floor pretending to be a snake. His children begged him to stop, but his face remained blank as though he wasn't in control. Every week, the madness came. Every week, his family grew more distant. His wife started mocking him openly, calling him the madman. His children refused to be seen with him in public. Once, his youngest son spat on him, yelling, "You're an embarrassment." But the most painful blow came from his wife. She began an affair with another man. At first, she tried to hide it, but soon she stopped caring. One evening, she kissed the man in their front yard while Mr. Alex sat by the window, watching. He said nothing. One morning his wife and the kids packed their luggage and moved out of his house. He was just looking at them without saying anything. They moved to the new mansion they bought somewhere far from his house. His wife and kids enjoyed their life and the wealth in their new mansion. Months passed by without them checking up on Mr. Alex. They blocked Mr. Alex from contacting them. Before the wealth, they had been poor but happy. They laughed together and shared meals, no matter how small. Mr. Alex worked hard for them, breaking his back to make ends meet. He adored his wife and children. But poverty had weighed on him, and he thought wealth would bring them joy. One night, he sat on the cold floor of his empty mansion, holding an old family photo. He traced the smiling faces of his wife and children with trembling hands as tears fell from his eyes. It had been months since they moved out. They didn't call, didn't visit, and didn't care. They were living in another mansion, enjoying luxury, while he was left alone. "Enough is enough," he muttered, standing up. He knew what he had to do. The native doctor's shrine was exactly as he remembered it, dimly lit, smoky, and filled with an unsettling silence. "You're back," the native doctor said. "I warned you about the price." "I don't want the money anymore," Mr. Alex said firmly. "Take it all back. The family I sacrificed myself for doesn't appreciate it. I'd rather be poor and have peace." The native doctor's voice was low and serious. "If I undo the ritual, you will lose everything, not just your wealth, but also the wealth of your wife and children." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Mr. Alex said. "Let it all go." The native doctor nodded and began chanting. The air grew heavy as Mr. Alex felt a strange weight lift from his chest. "It's done," the native doctor said. "Go home." In a short period everything was gone. The mansions, the cars, the businesses all vanished. Day in day out his wife and children gradually lost everything. They gradually go broke. They woke up to find themselves penniless. Their accounts were empty, their luxury possessions gone. They went to their friends for help but was turned down. Then they realized that those friends was there because they were wealthy. Confused and desperate, they tried to return to their father mansion, only to learn it had been sold. They had no choice but to track down their father. When they found his new address, they couldn't believe it. He now lived in a crumbling building in a poor neighborhood. They arrived to see him sitting outside. He wasn't surprised to see them. He had been expecting this day. "Papa," his eldest daughter said, her voice trembling. "What happened?" How did we lose everything? Mr. Alex led them into his one-room apartment. The walls were bare, and the furniture was sparse. He took a deep breath and told them the truth. How he had gone to the native doctor, refused to sacrifice any of them, and chose to bear the madness himself. He explained how he hoped the wealth would bring them happiness, but instead, it tore them apart. His wife burst into tears. His children sat in silence, their faces pale with shame. "We didn't know, Papa," his youngest son whispered. "We thought you were just mad." His wife fell to her knees. "Forgive us, Alex. We were blinded by wealth. We didn't see your sacrifice." Mr. Alex sighed. "It's too late to undo what's been done. We've lost everything, and we can't get it back. But I forgive you. We must start over, as a family, and pray for God's mercy." The family sat together in silence, the weight of their mistakes heavy on their hearts. They had nothing now but each other and a chance to rebuild, not with money, but with love and understanding. And for the first time in years, Mr. Alex felt a flicker of peace.